Hello, Zoe here, and I really wanted to talk about my trip to New York that I took at the beginning of September. Well, I guess mid-September. Yeah, it was mid-September, not the beginning of September. And this is where I'm doing it. So I will start the speed draw, and then I will continue talking about it. The first thing I think that I should talk about would be my experiences with navigating the subway. When I first arrived, I just got an Uber to my hotel, and that took like 2 hours. So I was determined to not ever use the Uber again inside New York and use the subway. So I had to figure out how to navigate it, and I looked up a tutorial and I was like, okay, simple enough. Got my little Omni card and got to it. I immediately got on the wrong train. Thankfully, I didn't do this too many times. The wrong train that I did was it was the correct line, but it was going in the wrong direction. So, that was fun. I also learned the tidbit of knowledge that apparently the New York subway system was made by 3 different companies. So that's why it's a mess. So that's cool. After getting lost and starting to get back on track to where I was going, I got on this train called the L train. It's just the L line on their subway. And the neat thing about these trains is that their rails are one way. And this train was stopped for a little while I was on board because of congestion. You know, on a one-way rail. I don't know how that happens, but whatever. The L train, from what I've heard, is apparently cursed with that sorts of stuff. And I guess I'll get more into that later as to how I learned that. But, yeah, turns out it is cursed. I also don't remember which line I was on when I saw this, but when I was underground, I saw there's like these big archways with like gaps between like the wall for like I guess services and the actual train rail. And someone apparently went down there and did a bunch of graffiti, and it was like a jellyfish kind of like swimming in and swimming away, and as you went past the arches, it looked like a little animation that was playing. So that was really cool. And then also there's the subway rats. They're just a bunch of little guys moving around in the rails. I don't actually know if they're little. They weren't that little. I don't experience rats too much, but they seemed pretty big for rats. The first place I wanted to stop by was the American Natural History Museum, which is in uptown Manhattan by Central Park. And it's huge. I spent a lot longer than what I was anticipating. I was anticipating spending just a couple hours walking around there, and then go to Central Park, spend a couple hours there, and then go and see the Drawfee live show that was down there. But no, what I did is I spent 5 hours running around the museum looking at all of the stuff. I don't even know if I saw everything that was in there. I know I didn't get the special, I guess, events that you have to pay for, I think. I don't even know what they're called. But there's 3 of those that I know I didn't see. But I guess I'll talk about the contents of it. There's, of course, the people of the world. Like, I say people of the world, like Stone Age people from all around the world. And just what we know about the cultures and that sort of stuff of that. And all of that was very interesting, seeing all of the displays and the replicas of artifacts that have been recovered was just super neat. They also had a bunch of plants and animals, like these huge dioramas with, of course, animals just from all over the world, whether it be from Africa, Europe, North America, Asia, just everywhere. And it was incredibly cool. And I also learned that the turtle in Elden Ring that everybody calls a dog, They didn't just say, hey, let's make a turtle big, or a tortoise big, sorry. No, that's a real animal. They're there. In real life. I'm pretty sure they're an endangered species, but yeah, that's just a real ass turtle, or tortoise. I'm confusing the two. That's a real ass tortoise. They also had an even bigger one. I can't remember which time period it was, but it was in the prehistoric eras. I want to say Cretaceous? Was it Cretaceous? I don't know. I get a lot of those confused. Or was it... I don't know. I'll have to look it up, and maybe I'll put something there if I can find it, because I don't remember its name. But speaking of prehistoric stuff, they had lots of animals from the Jurassic, Triassic, and... I want to say Cenozoic, actually. I think it is Cenozoic for there, and then the next period that starts with a C is where the big tortoise is from. But I know that dinosaurs were really huge, like, they're known for being big, and I also have seen pictures and references of skeletons all the time, because I have a comic series that involves dinosaurs. There's a link to that if you're interested. Actually seeing some of this stuff in person is like, oh wow, that's really huge. It's really funny how the difference between seeing something in person versus just pictures really is. They also had a bunch of really cool space stuff, just facts about space and other stuff, which was really fun. There's like a really big spiral staircase. Well, it wasn't really a staircase. You could... like a spiral slope, because it was meant to be able to have disability access. But going up of it, you started at now and went all the way back to the Big Bang, and that was pretty cool. Overall, the American Overall, the American Natural History Museum, it was a really cool place. And it took a long ass time to go through. And then after that, I went to the Drawfee live show. And that was fun. Before the Drawfee live show, I was on my way. I was walking down to the Bell House. That's where it was at. Just so that way that I made sure I knew where it was before I went to get something to eat. And I actually ran across Drawfee, their crew. And you know, I didn't say anything because they were on the opposite side of the street from me, going the opposite direction. And I didn't want to yell at them from across the street because apparently my anxiety wouldn't let me. Thanks, brain. You really know how to disappoint yourself. So after I got food, I went into the Bell House, and it was a bar. It was pretty much a bar. Just the entryway was a bar, and then you went into the back, and there was a second bar that was closed, and then just like a stage for performances and that sorts of stuff. Which I guess makes sense, because I was there to see a show. Unfortunately, Julia wasn't at the show because she was out with COVID, though the Drawfee crew did bring along a framed picture of Julia so that way that she could be here in spirit. It was a pretty good bit. And this is also where I found out that the L train is cursed. It wasn't just bad luck that it got congested while I was on it. It turns out that happens pretty frequently, and Karina wound up drawing a cursed L train that you see while trying to go home on a Sunday night. That was a really fun drawing. I'm glad I could understand why it was cursed. I was in on the bit, despite not being a local. There was also a ton of other good drawings and suggestions and that sorts of stuff. I was able to record some of the show despite the footage being kind of bad and at a bad angle, but I guess let me know if you want me to upload that. Maybe I'll upload it and just be like, hey, these are some footages. These are some footages from Drawfee Live. And then they did end the show with their 30-second drawing character battles, which they usually do. I can't believe that they ended with Scrungly Chillchuck versus Invincible Ballsman. Of course, Invincible Ballsman won because he's invincible, and the entire crowd was chanting Ballsman. I wasn't expecting to be chanting Ballsman in a bar in New York, but, you know, sometimes you live life and you have some experiences. A couple other places that I made sure to visit were Times Square and the Empire State Building. One, because, yeah, it's New York, first time there. I mean, I know that Times Square is very, very crowded, and it's kind of like a battle royale between cars and pedestrians, all saying, actually, this is my spot, when on the road. But, you know, it was nice to just kind of walk through and see what's around. I got to see a bunch of my Sonic boys. We saw Sonic himself and his lovely husband, Shadow the Hedgehog, as well as, I want to say Golden Sonic. I don't know a whole lot about the Sonic characters and lore, and my experience with Sonic is extremely cursed, and perhaps another time I'll actually talk about that. But just know it's cursed, and I don't know a lot of the character names. Another person that I saw was like this guy that was like dressed up in gold and like spray painted himself gold and that sorts of stuff, and would basically just dance for money as like a robot statue dancing. You know, that was pretty cool to see for a little bit, but I just kept on moving by on my walk. Just only watched for about a minute or so. And then as I was walking around, I was like, the Empire State Building's pretty close, isn't it? So I looked it up, and guess what? It was close by. So I decided to walk on over there. At that point, I'd been walking around for a little while, so I went into the Starbucks that's a part of the building and just sat there and relaxed for a little bit and had a drink. I was gonna go and buy a ticket for the Empire State Building's observation deck, because as someone who grew up reading the Percy Jackson series, I, of course, had to look into it and make sure I visited. I realized that the Broadway show that I was going to go see would be starting soonish, and I needed to walk on over to the theater. So I went ahead and walked on over to the Broadway theater instead. So, you know, a little disappointed, but I guess I'll just have to go back to New York and at some point in the future. The Broadway show that I went to see was Cabaret in the Kit Kat Club, and it was really good. I really enjoyed it. Like, I honestly have to see more theater performances just here in my local area, because I actually really enjoy them, especially when the only ones I've seen before were essentially either on elementary school field trips or elementary school play. So, you know, I wasn't really either old enough to appreciate what I was watching, or I was watching a bunch of elementary school students run about. But anyways, the Broadway show that I saw, it was about a African-American author who moved to Berlin in the 1930s, and it was about his time there around the Kit Kat Club. And like I said, it was really good. They started letting people in an hour before the performance, which is when I showed up. And I don't have any footage or pictures because they had you put a sticker over your phone, because it's a Broadway show. You can't film it. If you want to see it, you have to either go to Broadway or buy a DVD of it if one is available. But before it, there's a bunch of music. There's a bunch of performers dancing and playing music all around a bar, and it was really fun. Their performances were really good. I specifically remember there was a dude who painted his nipples golden for one of the performers. That's fine. I don't know why that's the most specific thing that stands out, aside from it was all really good. If you have the opportunity to go to New York, you should see a Broadway show. They are phenomenal out there. When I actually went and sat down at the stage, it was the first time I've ever seen a circular stage, so everyone was, well, there was people positioned on both sides of it, and then there was the orchestras on the other side of the stage. And I thought they did a really good job of when they were performing, of just, performing to both sides of the stage. Like, it didn't really feel like I was sitting at the back end of the play. Which, whenever I've thought of a circular stage, I always was concerned about that. Like, I always thought, I'm like, how would you perform to both sides when they're on opposite ends of each other? But yeah, it was really good. They did a really good job, which should not have surprised me because it's Broadway. And on my last day in New York, I first of all had to check out of my hotel, but then I went to Central Park and spent a couple hours walking around there. And Central Park is huge and incredibly beautiful. There was like this, I want to say it was like a French garden. I can't remember if that's exactly what it was, but it was a garden full of a bunch of bushes and flowers and that sorts of stuff, and it was really pretty. And then I went and continued wandering around and started walking through a forest. And that there had like a river and like a small little lake in there. And I do know that Central Park has like a whole ass zoo in there that I want to visit, but also but couldn't because I just didn't really have the time to make sure I could go and visit. And then after that, it was pretty much just heading out and going back to home. Yeah. Central Park, incredibly beautiful. It's huge. I'm surprised it's in the middle of Manhattan. Again, it's somewhere like, if you enjoy nature stuff, I would recommend you go if you're in New York. The thing that I've been working on was just a little funny thing that I thought would just be fun to do. I thought it would be a fun little piece to work on, and hopefully it's as funny as what I thought it was. Maybe it's not. Either way, this is the end of the video. And thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Let me know if you enjoyed it down below, and subscribe if you want to see some more stuff like this. Also, leave a like and all of that other good YouTuber things that I'm supposed to say at the end of a channel. Or I guess I mean video. Alright, thank you for watching. Bye!